Okay, so some of y'all need to just settle down. When I decided to have myself a laugh, indulge in a little goof, and upload my longest ever video in 12 years, I honestly didn't know what was gonna happen. The demands for an enemy list and a site of grace list have skyrocketed exponentially now that I've proven to people I can take anything seriously. 308 is a big number, like a hilariously big number given the context. But I honestly had no idea what a dangerous precedent I was about to establish for myself, because now some of you guys think you're just gonna get shit by asking for it. So you know what? I have an idea. This video right here, this is your sites of grace ranking. Fucking here it is. This is what we're doing. You even think it's possible for me to ever run out of ideas? Bitch, I'll start ranking comments if I have to. I'll start putting some of you fuckers up here since y'all are so goddamn funny. Maybe one day we can have ourselves an open mic night right here on the channel. Shit, I'll even make the grand prize my password. But that would be bad because then I'd have to use NordVPN to wrench my channel back from your thieving hands. There's an entire industry out there that thrives off of wrongfully selling your personal data, taking advantage of your vulnerability, holding your data hostage, and in some recent cases, implementing forced arbitration that takes away your ability to take action against companies, allowing them to do this exact thing without any legal consequence. NordVPN double encrypts all your personal data, making it impossible for said companies to actually do anything with it. It even comes with a threat protection feature that helps you pinpoint dodgy Discord links from scammers, and a dark web monitor that searches deeper parts of the internet for any of your leaked credentials. If you purchased a 2-year plan using my link in the description and pinned comment, you'll even receive 4 free months on top of that as a bonus. If you're out in public somewhere using a public Wi-Fi source, or if you just really don't want your ISP doing risky shit with your data, a secure VPN is really the only correct answer. When you download it, it's literally as simple as just pressing connect, or you can just tell it to launch up on PC startup and it'll automatically connect to a valid location without you even needing to do anything. Every purchase of the 2-year plan comes with 4 additional months for free using the link nordvpn.com/rustyvpn in the description and pinned comment. And if there's ever any second thoughts, you've got a 30-day money-back guarantee as well. Number 19, Mohgwyn Palace. Why in the fuck would I ever need a map to navigate this place? This must be a map for the directionally challenged, the type of person who never leaves their house because any destination with more than 2 turns feels like navigating a New York subway. This might be the single most straightforward area in the whole game. Like, literally just follow where the enemies are and you're gonna arrive exactly where you need to be in like 2 minutes. And why do you give it to me after I've already crossed the outskirts, the most intimidating part of the whole palace? There's nothing else here except a couple staircases and a lift. If you were this afraid of me losing my way, maybe there should have been a map at the entrance beside the Albinaurics, or at the very least, a convenient construction sign that told me to watch out for killer crows, which also appear nowhere on the map, by the way. I don't know, I feel like this is a pretty important landmark to denote here. If there was a rotting, comically oversized bird head just chilling out near Park Avenue or some shit, I don't know, I think the people might want to know about it, you know, just a hunch. Number 18, Lake of Rot. Can you imagine going on a vacation somewhere and your park advisor hands you a map and the whole image is just like a blue square that's supposed to be the hotel pool? Think about how many red colored pencils had to be wasted because some douche ruler wanted to draw a pond. There's nothing here. Like, absolutely nothing. There's one dragonkin boss that drops a katana and one ancestral dude using the Herpes Lake as a jacuzzi. There's one reason why I would put this map barely above Mohgwyn Palace, and that's because it's honest. There is not a single point of attraction here anywhere to be seen, and this map knows it. What's all this shit up over here? It doesn't matter. You're never gonna see it. The only point of attraction here is the coffin hanging out near the edge of the waterfall, the literal exit sign of the entire facility. No one has ever spent more than 30 minutes in this place, and no one ever even thinks of coming back here when they do. Ainsel could have just been one giant map of the city and the lake, and I don't think anyone would have complained. People probably would have been thankful. Farrah Missoula's hiding more items up its sleeve than a shitty weekend magician at an 8-year-old's birthday party, and Vomit Lake over here gets handed a map before that. Number 17, Mountaintops East. I can't think of a single professional, non-abrasive way to say that this is where you legitimately find some of the game's shittiest content. Our equipment lineup comprises Rivers of Blood, Borealis's Mist, and a Swaddling Cloth, both of which are fine, I guess, and a Sacred Tear that I probably don't even need this far into the game. The boss lineup is somehow even worse. A frozen dragon, a hidden spirit snail fight shamelessly disguising itself as a somehow worse and less eventful boss, the fucking fire giant, and an NPC boss that's that's badass in name only. Half the map is consumed by a giant aquamarine blotch of wasted ink that represents the freezing lake and all its nothingness contained therein. I get what the detailing is supposed to be most of the time, like that's obviously a ruin, that's obviously the Church of Marika, but these jagged lines all across the lake, like they're just nothing. I don't even need to go there and check, it's just nothing. Fucking trees maybe. Past that point and you've got some giant dogs and some aberrant sorcerers, followed by crows and trolls and hands. That's pretty cool. Very disjointed traversal with the chains, which are great from a creative standpoint, but just made it that much more of a hassle to make all these PNGs. But at the very least, the Eastern Mountaintops actually gives me something to talk about. That is the first compliment I've given to anything in this whole video. Number 16, Deeproot Depths. Fuck. I just shouldn't have looked. Now I'm even more confused. The full map is actually twice this size because there's so much detail here that's completely out of your reach that I just decided not to include it in this little graphic. Anything beyond this waterfall here might as well be a giant middle finger or a cock or something. You know what would have actually been really cool is if they detailed the roots of the giant tree up here where the negative space was just Godwin's weird ass face. I wish there wasn't so much damn water everywhere because a non-observing glance seems to just tell you almost nothing on this map is able to be explored. This giant lake up here below the tree stump is where the Fortisax boss fight is, but if I were just an ordinary individual deliberating stopping here for a weekend vacation or something, I wouldn't have known that shit. I just would have asked why it was on the map. I don't care how deep my balls are up my intestines from Fortisax kicking him so hard. The other two boss fights in this whole section of the game completely swallow that experience with their mediocrity. It's pretty scenery, but there's not a lot going on here. And maybe that's for the better. Number 15, Snowfield. There's a city where you gotta unlock the 4 candles or whatever. What, not exciting enough? All right, you get invaded by 2 NPCs. It happens twice. Wow, all right, really burning the midnight oil on this one. There's just nothing here to talk about, I'm sorry. The southern portion of the map might as well be just left blank because even if there was something actually valuable here, the only thing you'd be rightfully interested in is getting to a place where you can actually see what's in front of your goddamn face. I don't know, you want me to talk about the 19th mausoleum you found in the game? Yeah, even these shitters are getting old. But no, this one shoots stuff at you. You know what? That actually makes me mad. Like, that actually pisses me off. I would have rather just sat there and kept its mouth shut. God, what a shitty area. Number 14, East Liurnia. Surprise, there's nothing fucking here. There's a Knights Cavalry, a scattering of ghost soldiers, and a shitamajillion Albinorics. And a Tibia Mariner. Can't forget about his ass. No, wait, it gets worse. You guys remember the surprise Godskin Noble hanging out on the bridge of the Divine Tower? I could barely grab enough B-roll here to make this section of Liurnia even look presentable. It's got some decent items, but it could very well be a top contender in the shittiest landmarks category. I spent a while trying to capture a nice shot of something I thought was cool or interesting, and the only landmark I even managed to settle on was the tower, which isn't even entirely in Liurnia. The borderlines for these map fragments are also just really weird and arbitrarily laid out. You would think the separation begins somewhere in the middle of the Academy Gate Town, but the border separating the east and north segments actually follow a perimeter that's just below it, which makes this map fragment cover even less distance than I thought it did. You can barely make out the contour of this weird folding line if you look really closely. Seriously, I challenge everyone to name a single good thing that ever happens in East Liurnia that isn't the Dialos questline. Nope, fuck you. Thops is in the western bit too. What am I even supposed to care about here? Jarburg? Shut your ass. Map 13, Dragonbarrow. I'm already pissed off because I accidentally overwrote the fucking file I had this saved on, so this is the second time I'm doing this voiceover. This entire northern slice of Caelid here just shouldn't even exist. The 40-foot tall Jar King, or whatever the fuck he's called, just barely hugging the border of the rest of Caelid, which makes it a difficult decision to even count him towards this section of the video. But out of leniency, and because I'm a nice person, I will. We have officially discussed the only good feature in Dragonbarrow. What's the rest like? Well, it's filled with a bunch of rinse and repeat bosses I don't give a shit about. A dragon with a name I constantly get confused with the other dragon in Dragonbarrow that I also don't give a shit about. Whatever, just hurry up and bleed out so I can get your runes. A rune bear inside a cave. The rain beats the shit out of my FPS, and that 10% lightning damage increase is sure gonna help my ass out against a 40% lightning resistant black blade on guard duty in front of the sanctum. Oh, and the rewards Geraint gives you? Yeah, they're shit. I'm sorry, they're shit. Stone of Geraint was always the only one worth getting, and even then it's the 6th quest item. And nothing in this game is ever good enough for me to spend my weekend on a splunking expedition fucking the walls of 6 of the worst locations the game can offer you. You could lock Mohg's Great Spear behind 9 Deathroot, and I think it would take a whole 2 months for people to even find it or care about it. You remember how much I loved these caves when the game came out? God, time changes people. Number 12, North Liurnia. What? Am I supposed to feel a shred of excitement for this impoverished wasteland of Academy rejects and albinoric semen? Or the mini mutated semen lobster? I just said semen twice in the same... I'm not even changing it. Fuck you. Waiting to no-scope your clown ass and jump scare you like your gaming chair just caught on fire? I actually didn't even realize just how empty the northern portion of Liurnia even was until I finished up chalking up all the talking points. Just about anything worthy of at least stopping and looking at is found on the western side of the map. Even if I want to be nice and pretend Raya Lucaria is technically in the middle, which means it should count for all of them, it's still just a three-way wash. You still got Caria Manor, the 4 belfries, and half the game's good NPC quests all located in the western portion. I guess if you want to really squint your eyes and pop the blood vessels in your retinas, you can technically say the Diallos questline begins in North Liurnia, but why the fuck is this North Liurnia anyways? That should be Caria Manor and the Dectus Lift. Were they going by the physical altitude of the landmarks? Where did they find this cartographer? Fucking Craigslist? Number 11, Weeping Peninsula. Well, there was a lot of cool attraction points here I actually wanted to talk about, but because it kept raining every time I tried to refresh the game, I guess that means you're just getting shit footage. Little details like the Starcaller craters and the poison lakes here and there give a bit of color to the Weeping Peninsula that I think other points of the game severely lack. If Castle Morn didn't have the dimensions of a block of cheese, then the peninsula might actually be a really scenic area. Sadly, every other boss encounter seems to be a copy of something else I've already faced, and that's a pretty bold negative to have, seeing how we're barely an hour into the game in this area. This is also where you find your first walking mausoleum, and the sacred tears you get from the churches are very welcome, but generally there's a lot here that I think is just missing. This map feels so much emptier and yet so much more packed than most others, and I can't think of a reason why. When it comes to environmental details like the poison lakes and whatnot, I actually really like the peninsula, but the experience of actually exploring it just feels like a chore, so maybe that's why I feel the way I do about it. Number 10, East Limgrave. Man, look at all these fucking trees. Isn't this exciting? You know what trees need? Bears. You know what bears need? Victims, and that's your ass. Go in after you visit the church for the Physic Flask, find the minor Erd tree, get the 2 cracked tears, and haul your shit out of there and never visit this place ever again. I don't care about Ground Slam or Sacred Blade. Sacred Blade is okay, I guess. You can pick that up if you want. The 2 halves of Limgrave are roughly separated by the river running down the middle, meaning you can also visit Selin and obtain the Royal House Scroll? Proofreading much, you piece of shit? There's a Tibia Mariner here too, if you like those guys. I guess you can bag them up for the Deathroot minigame FromSoft thinks is fun, but other than that, no one really cares. I remember actually being pretty intimidated by the forest area because the sunlight couldn't reach the ground through all the thick trees, which made exploring it pretty cool. You can run into Blythe and Alexander here, but you can also not. Like, you can literally just not, and they'll show up later at the Radon Festival anyway, so who gives a shit? Axe Talisman's kinda nice, but I don't know. Like, this whole section is just the map. Nothing here is particularly bad enough to warrant a diss track or a hit piece, but my day isn't exactly made knowing half this exists either. Like, Bloody Slash? Yeah, okay. Dee and Kenneth are here? Sure, cool. But wait, no, we include part of Caelid technically. That's kind of cool, right? Yeah, you've got the minor Erdtree catacombs and the ruins with 2 pumpkin heads. You still want to use that defense? Yeah, that's what I fucking thought. Number 9, Nokron. Nokron should have just been 2 maps. These maps lack any meaningful topography, so any sense of verticality gets completely lost in the picture. I didn't know all this shit on the left was part of some secret city or something. I just assumed the same thing everyone else did the first time I found the sending gate. Oh, okay, so I'll be able to check out the left-hand side of the map then. Nope, you're gonna same-day delivery my ass straight to a Dragonkin's front doorstep and have me waddle around in a pond for 10 minutes. I'm not complaining, I get a nice weapon out of it at least, but taking down Radon and accidentally opening up the upper half of the map isn't exactly plastered on a road sign somewhere. In fact, since maps take the liberty of including background scenery most of the time, I remember thinking that entire city up there was just for the sake of immersion. Kinda made me respect it more, in a way. Like, they didn't have to build any of that, but it widens the scope a decent bit. Also, this cotton-looking texture hugging the top left over here, how am I supposed to read any of this shit? How am I supposed to tell where this is even at? I guess it's not a practical problem, since the intended path is a straight line into the Gargoyles duo boss, but why? I don't get it. Number 8, the West Mountaintops. The world traversal here is much better than anything you dream of seeing in the eastern portion, and some of the most standout items and finds of the Mountaintops actually require you to go way off the beaten path and actually play the goddamn game. Remember when we used to play the goddamn game? God, I miss being 2 years younger. Honestly, if a merchant is concealed behind an entire section of the map that requires you to jump a spirit spring and rim job the side of a mountain, I better be getting some fucking free samples. It also contains the entirety of Castle Sol, which is a pretty fun side area, even if the teleporting knights and Murica birds make it a bit of a hassle to fully explore. I've got a few minor complaints involving the main upper path. I try every time to advance past the unholy brigade of Party City decorations without fighting, but inevitably one of them shoots me in the ass and I decide to take it personally for the next 3 minutes. Also, this is, what, the third finalist area in the game? The penultimate, third mostest tertiary, but like the other way? Antepenultimate. I just looked it up. You're welcome for the new word. Anyways, we're nearing the end of the game now. Can you stop placing Tibia Mariners in the middle of the street? I'm starting to feel sorry for them. This one isn't even a boss enemy, and he has no ceremony behind his presentation at all. Like, you don't see him from a distance ethereally piloting his fucking weird kayak around some ruins. Nah, they just airdropped him onto the side of a cliff somewhere next to a bunch of snails. Number 7, Altus. I think the greatest part of experiencing Altus for the first time was the reveal. Shit was nothing short of a masterclass in audio-visual presentation. They even prefaced Altus's back entrance with one of the shittiest, most tedious bosses to fight, just so they could properly line us up with the subsequent haymaker they had hiding behind their back. I'm sure that's exactly what they meant to do. I respect Altus because no matter where you enter from, the reveal still goes hard in the fuck. You either take the Dectus lift straight up and you're smacked with a 2,900-acre landscape of systematic inequality, or you arrive via the parking garage entrance, turn the corner after Lanciax, and get a similar reveal of the exact same city. I honestly don't know which reveal I personally like more, since both of them seem pretty grandiose. Considering this is one of the more important locations in the scope of the game, it'd be nice if the enemy variety didn't suck harder than the average North American nursing student, and I got to spend at least half of my time actually enjoying the fucking scenery. Altus has an omen problem. It has a bad one. I didn't stop to count how many of these dudes there were, but reflecting on my time here, I found way too many. Pumpkinheads, misbegotten, those weird horse jockey looking assheads that burp and fart into the air when you scare them. And I'm gonna be honest, still not feeling too forgiving on the whole Godefroy incident. Like, every time I get a chance to talk about anything Altus related, this guy's just gonna be brought up because he deserves to be laughed at. And FromSoft does not need to forget about how egregious this shit is. If Shadow of the Erdtree comes out and I find Melanie the Blade trapped in an Everjail, she's gonna be a guest feature on this channel for the next like 10 months. Number 6, Caelid. Yet another masterclass in how a single reveal with a bit of effort and thought put into it sets the perfect tone for 25% of the whole game and fucking keeps it there. Caelid presents to you a wide open landscape of pustulating space herpes, accented by a vicious crow giving off sports mascot energy with its proportionally large head. Half the woodwind section tosses their instruments down the stairs a la Insidious, and you've got one of the most unforgettable reveals FromSoft has ever concocted. That crow just completes the whole picture, almost as though he's staring directly at you saying, "Hey, douche ruler, I suggest turning around and leaving." Caelid is also just one of those areas you need a map to navigate because the entire central makeup of its geography is just a red blob that might as well be a giant stop sign. But you also see little structures and buildings spaced out within the lake, and pickups like the meteorite staff you can actually find at those locations. The town of Celia being where it is almost incentivizes you to navigate across the lake, like an encouraging big brother saying, "Hey, I know it's scary, but when you make it across, you're gonna find the coolest shit." Number 5, Gelmir. Gelmir's enemy selection is not great. I don't like lizards or reptiles in real life, never have. Farming for their weapons has to be one of the most tremendously bad experiences I can't shut up about in this game. But Rykard does have a pretty badass fight, and the anti-Erdtree culture surrounding the Volcano Manor makes for some of the best content in the game in my opinion. Sure is a shame that 70% of the map's exploration is dull, smoky, and just tough to get around. I mean, it's a volcano, so like fucking duh. It's not a trip to Food Lion or some shit, but I could have done without the demi-human boss, the metal virgins, and okay, I'm sorry. What the fuck is this guy doing here? If the Volcano Manor had its own map section, it would probably be top 3, but it would also be an incredibly small and pointless map fragment to have, since the manor leading up to Rykard's lair is painfully linear, admittedly. The Hero's Grave in Gelmir might be the best and most well-stocked Hero's Grave if I had to pick one, which is about as impressive as winning an ass-kicking competition against a squad of earthworms. The fort behind Volcano Manor gives me the Prelate Crozier, and the Serpent Hunter in RKR, of course being the goats that they are, but Gelmir is also home to 2 of the most boring cave locations, the Volcano and Seethwater Caves. It's a mixed bag that honestly has more troughs than peaks if you're going specifically by quantity, but the experience of going through Volcano Manor is just such a bold and obvious positive that it's hard to overshadow. Number 4, West Liurnia. Western Liurnia is Liurnia. It's everything that makes Liurnia pop. It contains the best weapons, fights, environments, and experiences. It is quite literally where the magic happens. Fuck Northern Liurnia and its middle-of-the-road ass cartography, some aristocratic fuck dumpling wanted the academy to be the highest point of Liurnia, just like their egos or some shit. But basic intelligence and comprehension tells you that the academy is in Western Liurnia beyond the shadow of a doubt. And even if it wasn't, I still wouldn't change my opinion. Carian Knightsword, Jellyfish Shield, the Belfries, Natural Born Estelle, technically, almost the entire Ronnie quest, and subsequently the Darkmoon Greatsword, fucking Iji's ass, and magic dragons, which in my opinions are the coolest dragons in the game, not counting the ancients. No godskins, no cavalries. I mean, there's an Erdtree avatar, and there's also that spirit caller snail hiding a jump scare duo fight under its slimy, shitty belly. Okay, so it's not perfect. I do have some minor gripes. The Revenant fight probably doesn't need to be there, but the Frozen Needle thrusting sword is an extremely underrated weapon, and the avatar drops the Ruptured Tear, which has to be one of the funnest tears to use in any context. The abundance of water in the environment makes lightning damage even better, perfect for that honed bolt you just picked up, and its ease of navigation absolutely no one complains about just because the entire map is basically a vertical line that spans the whole of Liurnia. Most of the fun I've had in this realm, I've had right here. The Academy can take the runes they've scammed from thousands of their determined scholars and donate them to someone who gives a baker's fuck, because I ain't buying it. Number 3, West Limgrave. Western Limgrave is the kind of shit that stays in your memory long after you've stopped playing. Strictly in terms of selling you the rest of the game and enticing you to go forward, it might be the greatest introductory area of any Souls game, and most games outside of that bracket too. The grandiose reveal of how everything gets presented to you at once, and the wealth of different environments, camps, and ruins you have to explore sets the pace of the rest of the game. The wide scope gradually leads you towards Stormvale Castle, where the corners start tightening up, but you end up appreciating the smaller details that much more because of it. You've got fun little traps like the 2 chuckle fucks throwing fire pots in a room filled with explosive barrels, an encounter that I somehow barely managed to outsmart the first time, memorable NPCs like Nefeli and Rogier, and there's also the pride and contentment of clowning on someone we all thought was going to be a huge deal before the game launched and then realized he was as strong as a used toilet seat with 20 arms. Honestly, when I say Western Limgrave, I mostly mean Stormvale, because that's where at least 80% of the fun actually is. But not mentioning other notable locations like the Colosseum and the Stormhill Shack where you find Bernal would just be dishonest. It's a fun map that does a wonderful job setting the tone for the rest of the game, almost too well, because very few places in the game actually feel as fun as this one. Number 2, Ainsel. The game slices the Ainsel realm into some pretty interesting and questionable pieces, but I think the blame lies particularly with the lake on that one. If the Halictree and Farum Azula don't get maps, then this Spunk Chasm didn't earn one either. What I'm more impressed by is the gentle, gradual reveal of what this place actually is. If you took the elevator down into Ainsel, fought the Clayman, picked up the Skull Plate, killed the Dragonkin, and pissed off, you would have thought Ainsel just sucked. But there's an outlier here. The Dragonkin boss arena is way too detailed and way unlike anything else near the palace ruins, that it pinches your cheeks between both its hands like grandma and forces you to stare into its eyes, begging you to remember it and come back to it. Like, who the fuck is this? I don't know. Game apparently doesn't know either. He's just a big dead dude. But you see the same thing in Upper Nokron, and that place has an entire city, so surely there's something you must be missing here. This is done with the intent of feeling like you legitimately discovered something great when you get to Nokstella. It's one of the only locations you hear about long before you actually find it, changing your initial reaction from holy shit, this place looks cool, to holy shit, it's this place. I know what this is. Number 1, Leyndell. Leyndell is just fun. It's fun seeing so much detail crammed into such a confined space. The reveal coming down from the eastern wing of the city is nice. The bubble blowers are so goofy that I just can't complain about them. The Grandsax lore could have its own YA novel, and the weapon you get in its place is one design draft away from being the equivalent of this universe's Excalibur. I really like the Firelink shrine twist they pull by making the Round Table a physical location in Leyndell, but it's depressing and empty as shit. You don't even see the verticality of half the map at a glance, because there's an entire sewer level you can find that isn't tied to a simple elevator ride down, which makes the discovery that much more meaningful in my opinion, because you aren't expecting to find anything save a sword and maybe like a couple rune arcs or something, but the game just gives you a whole ass underground labyrinth to get lost in. And then there's that mind game with the omens and how they like trick you into thinking you're going in circles. Morgott might be the one shardbearer I actually feel a trickle of remorse for, because it's a wonderful story about how your past heritage following you around and institutions judging you for it no matter what. His fight doesn't involve any trickery or blowing stars out his ass cheeks or turning into a monster hunter boss. Leyndell provides the largest wealth of environments, the coolest backstories, and the illusory wall in the Frenzied Flame prescription just leading right to Deeproot is still a discovery I haven't gotten over. This is the only instance in the whole game where I feel the lines here are blurred just enough that there's a non-zero chance someone might actually get mad at me for not including Deeproot as part of Leyndell, and I just think that's the coolest shit. You'd be wrong, by the way. way. You'd be fucking wrong. The map geography is also just really satisfying to look at, I guess. It's just a semicircle with a wall around it. Simple and elegant. And the detailing of the giant trunk of the Erdtree actually extending below the city to where it's a visible detail on the Deeproot map is just too fucking cool not to bring up. This should be anyone's favorite map, because there are so many interesting one-offs and hidden details that obviously took weeks of thought and effort to even put in that no other map really has. Most other locations just slap a sending gate in the middle of a forest like, alright, nice, immersion done. No, this one has blood on it. It's cool, I promise.